You're watching EVH Gear TV, brought to you by Mike's Music. Visit Mike's Music online for all your EVH and other gear needs. Microphones for EVH Gear TV are provided by Rode Microphones, and official Van Halen merchandise is provided by VanHalenStore.com. Now, here's your host from Ontario, Canada, EVH Gear artist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, happy weekend. It's Friday. Thank God this was another long week. We finally made it to the weekend. We're here, and tonight's going to be a really cool technical, I don't want to say too much technical, but a nice roundtable session, how to improve your signal flow, your sound, your neatness, everything, your backline. If you're struggling with pedals and tone, cabling solutions, and a pedal board, and something to power it up, we've got the perfect solution for you. I'm joined by two people I'm very proud to work with. From my left to right, maybe a little different on the screen, Rick Kreifeldt from IdeaBench and Jody Page from PedalSnake. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Fine, excellent. Doing great.
Really good, very good. So we're we have a great itinerary for the whole episode tonight. We're gonna kind of go back and forth a little bit. Each of our distinguished guests are going to tell us a little bit about their companies, what they offer, and what we all can offer you. So, well, I feel free to ask questions at any time throughout the chat. If you have any technical questions for these gentlemen, be more than happy to help you. Just jump into the chat real quick and say hi to everybody here. We've got Carlos Santon jumping in, saying happy stormy Friday, everyone. It looks like I'm early, and I did hear some thunder over my house here too, and I always get worried because I lose hydro power here very easy when in my little Gilmore Girls town. I think we all run on Duracell batteries here in this town. Scary Groove says, happy Friday. Hello, Eric. Excited for the show. Lyle Ketchum's jumping in saying, hello, everyone. How's Friday treating you? Very, very well. Mike Ray saying, hi, all. Mystic Star. I'm at work, but just wanted to say hi. And Blimpus Rock Videos says, hello, all. So I'm going to flag it at Blimpus Rock Videos. And Jody, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to switch the camera over to yourself and Rick. I'll probably come back and forth a little bit. And we're also going to show some pictures from time to time as well, too. So I'll let you take it away, all right?
Okay. Well, what would you like to hear first?
Well, tell us a little bit how PedalSnake started and the history of the company.
Well, back around 2000 actually, a friend of mine that I was actually playing with in a band, he called me and wanted some advice about running his power cable, bundling his power cable with his guitar cables, and he was concerned about noise and all that. And so I just started thinking, well, pedals run off low voltage. Why don't we run the 9 volts next to the audio? And then why bundle it when we can actually put it in a snake? So that's where it kind of started. I just started thinking based on this question that a fellow musician had asked me, and started building prototypes and whatnot, and finally got it going. It's probably around 2003 when we finally got a patent, and we started selling. I was actually making them myself for the first year. I could build a PedalSnake in about 35 minutes. I got pretty good at it for a while.
Yeah.
But once we started selling them, then some of the smarter, more savvy artists started calling us and asking us about it and such. And one of the first ones that we had was Mr. Eric Broadbent from Canada. He was our first Canadian artist endorser, and probably around 2005, and we still have the picture on our website of Eric from 2005. What was the name of your band, Eric?
It was Finding Core. Yeah, you sent me that one.
Finding Core.
I got to give you a better picture. I have that one here. I'll see if I can pull it up. 1 second.
Yeah, we were talking about that last time, about maybe you sending me an updated picture, and we'll keep them both. Keep them side by side. You'll be the only artist on our artist page that'll have 2 pictures.
There you go. Old and new. There it is. I'm a little ashamed of that one. That's the old. Actually, I have short hair again, so I guess it's come full circle. So there you go. Yeah.
But Eric told me the other day that he still has his first PedalSnake, and it's been beat to death and done 1,000 gigs, and it still works. He's never had a problem with it. Now he's going to give it to his son.
He's already using it.
So it's like, Eric Jr. is going to carry the torch, forward.
Yeah. I love that. He's doing it already. And the thing is, like, I figured I was going to get rid of my board. It was an old homemade board Now the board was worth nothing. It's just a piece of plywood with some carpet on it, which I Velcro the pedals onto. But the rack case, it was given to me by my old keyboard player in the Van Halen tribute band. It was for a Mini Moog or something like that. And I was going to sell it just mainly for the case, and you get a free pedal board. But it wasn't it wasn't a smart decision, because someone's going to have to pay like $100 to ship this thing, and it's worth $100. So it's just not worth it. So here you go, boy, you get it. But the thing is, yeah, I did use that one, and I've had two, I guess you call them the base snakes. That was called a base snake back in the day.
Snake, right?
Yeah. So you sent me that, plus you sent me a backup a couple years later, just in case that one ever failed on me. Never even used the backup, so I still have a backup for him. And I mean, that was on a lot of stages. It had road cases slammed on it. It's had things spilt on it. It's had, people, roadies yanking on it, trying to pull stuff across the stage. It never failed me once, not a single day since around 2005. And I retired in 2012. So that's got a lot of years of abuse.
I love that story. Yeah, we try to make, it bulletproof as much as we can. Of course, there are problems from time to time, but we think we have a pretty reliable product, which, some people, people look at it and it's just different. They see, it's a snake, so you have the thin breakouts, as any audio snake would have, and they think, this can't be reliable. This is lightweight. And so a lot of preconceived ideas and myths that we had to dispel. But we finally went to a few NAMM shows, but then we figured out the NAMM shows are about when you're trying to find resellers. The music stores come and decide on look at new products and decide what they want to carry in their store for the next year. But PedalSnake being a configurable product, we have 24, I think now. We've added a couple lately with the Strymon 24-volt method. We've added a few cable SKUs, cable parts to the lineup. So I think we have like 26 different parts that you can purchase to configure the PedalSnake system to your rig. So it's something that you customize yourself. Well, that doesn't go well in stores.
No.
So they have to stock too many parts, and they don't understand it, and they don't want to take the time. They can sell a guitar in 5 minutes for $1,000, but they got to spend 30 minutes explaining PedalSnake to somebody when it's a $175 sale. Well, they weren't into that. So we quit going to the NAMM show. We reeled in all our resellers. We do have one though that's still he's in the UK and England. Peter Madison with Madison and Fifth. He does a good job. He's a small distributor, and he understands the product, and he focuses on it, and he can help his own customers in England. But that's the only one. So it's all direct. You buy direct from us now, and it's been that way for quite some time now. And other than that, we really haven't had a change in the product line until very recently, when Strymon came out with the Zuma, Ojai, and now the Ojai R30. And we saw, Rick and I actually started talking about this. We were talking about mainly because they had good for PedalSnake, because we had power supplies at the back line, and we wanted to be able to power, more than one pedal at a time from the back line. But then Rick thought of it first. He said, well, they really run off 24 volts. Why don't we just put that in PedalSnake? And so we've got the adapters now, and have plans for having an actual pigtail. But right now you adapt the pigtails that we have to the 24 volt connectors. But I'm sort of getting ahead of myself. We're going to get to the Strymon stuff a little later. That's a topic all unto itself. But that's basically the history of how we got going and where we're at today.
I'll jump in for a quick second. I'll just say something that kind of leads up to this as well too. Starting with some of your products, Jody, how they improved as well too. So first of all, the PedalSnake itself helped tremendously, and we'll get down later into the program how in deep it helped me and other guitar players. But using your own power supply long before we've actually graduated to Strymon, all of us working together with them. Your PedalSnake, the Snake power supply is a 500 milliamp power supply. I have one just actually right off to the side of my monitor here. And the reason why I use that is sometimes when I'm doing product demos, for example, I've got a Boss pedal sitting here to my left. If I want a quick thing, I have a small adapter cable running from your Snake power, and I can just have one pedal on my desk and power it up, no problem, without using batteries. But so that worked really, really good. Obviously, having a slightly higher milliamperage, you can put maybe another pedal or two on there depending on what their draw is compared to your typical 300 milliamp pedal, which is almost standard, I believe. And if I'm wrong, please let me know because you guys are the engineers. But that helped me tremendously. And then I think it was just before we went to the custom snake that I have now. I said to you, what if we tried to, because I run some pedals through the loop, some through the front of the amp, what if we added a second power supply, one of yours, and so all the pedals to the loop were on one, all the pedals to the front of the amp were on the other, and that alone was a big noticeable difference right away. Cause if there's one pedal that wasn't playing nice, I look at it like this. I have to talk in layman's terms because I don't know the engineering terms, but I used to work for a cable company, doing cable for your internet and your TV. And the reason why the cable guys would hate people hooking up their own splitters and running to other TVs in the house, not because they're losing money off that, maybe a little tiny bit from the installs, but usually that you go to your Radio Shacks in the day and you buy these splitters and you kind of really hack job the job. Cable will be kind of a full duplex. Crap will go in, crap will come back, and the next guy down the road is going to have a crappy cable interference because you're letting stuff bleed back through. So that being said, with a power supply, you've got a pedal that's not playing nice, and you're having to run that to the front of your amp and the loop. You're just having a smorgasbord of disaster. That's the way I look at it. Am I somewhat correct on that?
Well, isolation has kind of become a little overblown. People think that you have to isolate every pedal or you're not playing the game right. Well, that's not really true.
Okay.
But the fundamental thing, which you just mentioned, is you got a metal chassis on your amplifier, and if you connect to the front, a chain of pedals to the front of the amp, and then the effects loop chain connects in back of the amp, well, this metal has all kinds of little AC currents and voltages swirling around in it. And then if you connect those two chains together with a power chain, then some of that AC current can get into your audio that way. That's called a ground loop. That is a real ground loop.
Okay.
Ground, any kind of noise gets blamed on a ground loop, but that really is a ground loop, and that's what you're trying to break with the isolating your effects loop from your amp in pedals. Now, after you've done that, that's fairly fundamental. Not every amp really needs it, but it's just a good thing to do. It doesn't hurt. And it, especially if you play high gain, it might make a little difference. It might make a lot of difference depending on your amp. Makes a lot of difference on my amp.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I discovered it. Really, was my amp was making a pretty good hum until I discovered I had to isolate the two chains. But then the other thing is every now and then you will get a digital pedal that doesn't like to be on a chain because it wasn't designed properly. So it lets some of that digital clock noise out into the audio, which then goes into one of the little analog pedals, and it gets into the audio coming out of that pedal.
Mm-hmm.
So you isolate that digital pedal on its own power supply or isolated output of a power supply, and you kill that noise. So every now and then you need to isolate a pedal, but really not that often. That's about it. But basically, as people think of ground as ground, a metal chassis as ground. Well, it is, but it's got stuff swirling around in there. So you really don't want to connect across two pedal chains that are connected to two places on a metal chassis.
Gotcha.
You don't want to connect power across those two chains and form a loop.
That's right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the technology side of how the company's evolved with PedalSnake, where you're going with that, and what's seen some benefits for you.
Well, we didn't really intend this. We just we discovered these things along the way. But the key really is that we started using microphone cable, and I didn't know it at first, but a passive guitar pickup does not drive microphone cable very well because it's high capacitance.
Right.
And everybody's all about low capacitance guitar cables. Well, that only applies to passive guitar pickups. And I was noticing how wonderful PedalSnake sounded and how quiet it sounded. And it's because effects pedals, the buffer, if it's a true bypass pedal, it still has a buffer when it's on, but a buffered pedal always has a buffer. And these buffers are low impedance outputs, and they drive high capacitance cable great. So you've got a high capacitance microphone cable being driven by the low impedance output of an effects pedal That's the quietest connection you can have. So you want to do that whenever you can. You do need that low capacitance cable from your guitar to that first pedal. If you have a battery in your guitar, though, and it's active pickups, you don't even need that. You don't even need a low capacitance then. But generally, you still need the low capacitance cable from your guitar to the first pedal. But from pedals to amplifier, always use a buffer. Don't go all true bypass. It's just not a good idea. When we first got started, now people were still kind of into that all true bypass thing. Mm-hmm. That turned out to be really not a good idea, because you really have to manage your cable and your capacitance really closely. And it's just a pain in the ass, basically. So not many people do that anymore.
Yeah,
and it's good.
For the layman out there, just tell people what the difference is between a true bypass and a buffered pedal.
Well, a true bypass pedal, when you turn it off, it's like the pedal isn't there anymore. It's just a straight connection of wire straight through the pedal. A buffered pedal, when you turn it off, you've still got the electric circuit driving the output. You've just taken the effect out. And I think Boss might have been the first ones to introduce the buffered pedal back probably in the 70s, because people were realizing that when you start using pedals, you start using a lot more cable. Mm-hmm. You've got cable from the guitar to the first pedal, you've got cable between pedals, and you've got cable from the pedal to the amplifier. And so they were losing some tone. And all the first pedals were true bypass. So they were losing tone because it was, when all the pedals were off, they were just driving too much cable, losing some treble, losing some high end. Mm-hmm. Sound was getting dull. So Boss came up with the idea, well, let's just keep that, even when the pedal's off, let's keep that low impedance output going. And beautiful magic, So you quit worrying about it. You quit worrying about your cabling when you have a buffer. So everybody should have a buffer.
And it's nice, a lot of the manufacturers these days too, everyone from, the Strymons to the Bosses to most people anyways, especially in the multi-effects pedals, they'll even give you the option. Do you want it to be buffered or true bypass? That you can actually mm-hmm. dial in, which is very cool. And for some people that are new to it, if you're running, let's say on batteries, I guess a perfect way to test right away, if all of a sudden a pedal dies, you got no signal whether it's on or off, the chances are that means right there that it's a buffered pedal. If it's a battery in there and it's dead, then it's a buffered pedal.
Well, yeah, you can test that out. If you turn a buffered pedal off, even if you're not using a battery,
right?
You just turn the buffered pedal off. You can just play your guitar. You can hear it. Unplug the power. You won't hear it anymore. Yes. That's a buffered pedal. If you can unplug the power and still hear your guitar going through when the pedal's off, then that's a true bypass pedal.
Yeah. What's really funny here, and you kind of mentioned this a minute ago too, about how you've gone pretty much direct with the consumer, and that's a phenomenal thing. There's nothing wrong with that. You look at manufacturers like Kiesel Guitars and people like that. There's nothing wrong with that. People say, well, I want to go to the store and try it. But here's the thing. We've all been in sales. We're all salesmen, for your salesman for your own company. I've done a lot of years of retail sales. I've sold everything except for cars. And salespeople, and it's not giving salespeople a bad name by any means, but some people will make up their minds, like you said earlier. And if there's ignorance with a brand or a product, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to say it's garbage because they're scared of it. They don't want to learn the thing. So you've gone back to being a direct seller for the most part, and because of that, there's a lot of myths, not just with your product, but with molded cables and all these different things. And really, I honestly wish I had even a dime for every time I've had this argument with people about molded cables. Just the other day, I bought some molded cables for a send and return on my new mixer here. I needed it to patch in an effects unit. They're molded, and I won't say necessarily the brand name, but they're one of the biggest ones out there that do the molded cables for effects and things like that. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Nice big red logo, orange logo. But they're molded cables and they have a lifetime warranty on them because you're never going to need it. So let's talk about some of the myths in the industry, and hopefully we can debunk a lot of those and kind of at least let's chip away at the ice of the foundation of this, make people feel a bit more relaxed about it, and say, okay, now if I want some more information, I'll talk to Jody, I'll talk to Rick, and all these other things here. But let's debunk some of these myths.
Well, for some reason, there's myths everywhere in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Most of the information we receive about any product is information that wants to exploit us, or they want us to buy that product. And so it's not always true. And for some reason, guitar cables just got to be so laden with myths. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Some company years back started saying, well, you got to spend a lot for cables and you can notice a difference in your sound. And I won't mention the brand name, but it sort of caught on and people started doing that. And everybody, well, what kind of cables do you use? What kind of cables do you use? Well, how do they sound? You know, it's like, it's created this whole culture of technology about your guitar cables. Well, wire is wire. I'm here to tell you, wire is wire. Capacitance is different. You get too much capacitance, you're going to lose tone. But a $10 15-foot cable compared to a $200 15-foot cable, you plug them in blindfolded and have somebody switch them out for you. You won't be able to tell the difference. And then there'll be differences in the quality of the plugs, or the quality of the shielding, or the quality of the construction, but the sound, no. I mean, any decent $10 cable is going to sound as good as any other cable. But the other myth that we run into all the time, and we see it on forums, is that, well, I haven't tried PedalSnake because you're really not supposed to run audio next to power. Well, that's such a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing.
I agree. Yes.
They'll start talking about the magnetic fields. Well, the current's got magnetic fields, and it's well, that's technically true, but there's other factors involved. Mainly, I guess the main thing is that any power cable is going to have the source current going this way, and the return current coming back right beside it, and so the magnetic fields cancel out.
Okay.
Plus, a lot of times they put a twist in it, which even cancels it out further. Plus, DC pedals are powered by DC. DC will not crosstalk. You have to have a AC, alternating frequency current to crosstalk. So, just all kinds of myths. That's a biggie too. I guess the biggest one though is, well, I've spent $200.
We temporarily lost Jody's camera. He should be back hopefully momentarily. A little bit of a hiccup.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we just lost you for a brief
Can
moment.
You guys still hear me?
You're good. Yep, you're good.
Uh-oh.
Did you lose us? Can we hear you?
Well, I don't see any action from you guys.
We hear you.
Yep, we can hear you good. Just check.
The screen has frozen on my computer.
It'll come back.
It should probably come back.
Why don't you guys, Rick, give me a text. Tell me if you can still hear me.
Oh yeah, we can. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we got you. Yeah.
Oh, he can't see that.
Oh yeah, he can't see. That's right. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I'll text him.
No problem. Look where it froze too. That's a perfect.
That's a pretty cool picture.
It is good.
That's gonna be my picture. My. I need to put that on my phone that's my picture of Jody.
That's good. That's perfect. That's gonna be when he calls you. That's gonna pop up. What we'll do? How about this? While you're texting, I'll go over to the chat and say hi to everybody as well too. And I want to come back and make sure Jody hears this too, because it's a nice plug for PedalSnake too. Trip Machine's jumping in. That's my friend Gustavo Gonzalez. Oh, there we go. We lost him. 1 second. All right. So I've got a couple Ricks on the screen here. Hopefully he'll jump back in and give us a call back. So Trip Machine's jumping in. Gustavo Gonzalez. He says he's very happy with his PedalSnake. Jody, thanks a lot, and thanks to Eric. Chris Kerr's jumping in saying hello all, Eric and Jody. Scary Groove says, I'm currently using a Voodoo Lab pedal power. Even when using a noise gate, I still get hum. Setup is currently my EVH 5153 Stealth head. Will PedalSnake run cleaner and produce less hum? So we'll address that for sure as well too. And I was kind of helping Scary Groove a little bit there through some Facebook chats as well too, kind of pointing them in the right direction. And the PedalSnake will certainly help a lot too. Once we get cleaner signal in and out of that amplifier, that's where it starts. And then also too, Rick, as I know you'll allude to, and you know this too, working with the artists, both with Jody and the people that we all work with together, you really look at each pedal going onto that board, and if there's a troublesome pedal, you look at that one, you isolate that pedal, and then you go from there. Okay, so like you troubleshoot from there on, and you might every once in a while you get a pedal that doesn't like to play nice, and you can fix that.
Well, that's one of the things that I see a lot on forums is where people don't think about troubleshooting and just trying to isolate. And, I always like having one extra cable that you just start plugging into places and pulling stuff out. Because it could be, a little patch cable that went bad, or, It could be something with a power thing that's bad on that one. There's a lot of different things that can go.
That's right.
With Patrick, Scary Groove, it could be, it could be something as simple as, he's got just the, it could be where he's got the magnetic field coming from the toroid in that pedal power.
That very well could be. And Trip Machine, Gustavo says, my tone got better and cleaner since I got the PedalSnake. And I've heard it personally myself, so I can agree with that. And Trip Machine says, can you say hello to Jody for me, please? And I will for sure once we get Jody back on the call. Hopefully we do.
Yeah.
Jay's Talk with Guitars. So, go ahead. What'd you say?
On that power, I did want to mention, when Jody was saying a little knowledge is a bad thing, it's because it's true you don't want to run your power next to your audio, but that's when you're talking about AC power, not DC power. It's a whole different thing, right?
Right.
See, like he was saying, the AC power is going to sit there, and you got a wave, and that's going to induce over onto your audio signal, but that doesn't happen on DC power.
Right. Okay. Good to know. See, I don't know a lot of these things. I know I have kind of a slight foundation on it, and we're joking in the house the other day. The better half wants me to wire up a new lighting system in the bedroom, and one thing that I'm not scared of too many things in my life, but I am deathly afraid of electricity. I don't like to monkey with it. I don't. I've been electrocuted so many times that I really should not be alive. So that's why I'm scared of it. So I trust you guys, the engineers. Okay, if it's safe to do this and plug this in. You ever see those things on the joke memes on Facebook and things like that? Here's a new guitar cord for you. It's guitar cord on one end and a hydro plug on the other end. You plug it in the light, you're dead, right? So that's my take on electricity. I don't monkey with that stuff.
It's funny. Well, don't tell my wife I said this, but sometimes when I'm trying to fix a light or do something quick, it's too much effort to go and flip the circuit breaker. I just put on gloves. I mean, come on.
Really? Well, that's the thing. You guys that know what you're doing, I've seen electricians do certain things like that before too. They'll bat it like with the back of their hand, because I guess they say they never touch it this way, because if you get electrocuted, you'll grasp it out of your muscles, right. So you hit it with the back of your hand. But no, I don't like to monkey. I don't like to monkey around with it. Leave it to the pros. It's just we talk about some of these people on the show that are great at so many things. I'm like the most ungifted person when it comes to the home do-it-yourself. Don't mess with the electricity, but that's a story for another day. Let's continue down the chat for a quick second. Jay's Tacos and Guitars jumping in says, hey, everybody, my 5150 overdrive is quite noisy, a high-pitched, whiny sound. Now that's something new. Isn't that usually power issues? Would PedalSnake help with that? Well, PedalSnake won't help it necessarily for one pedal. What you need to do there, and in my opinion, Rick, please jump in if what you think on this. First of all, I would suspect, I see using multiple pedals. I think he's using multiple. What are you using for a power supply? If it's a generic, bought from a department store, that'd be one thing I'd look at. What could affect that milliamperages and voltages?
Oh, yeah. And the first thing I always do when someone says I've got a pedal is I get it independent of everything else.
Take it out.
Like I disconnect it, right?
Yep.
I plug in a separate power supply into it, plug in separate cables and say, and then put it in. It's like, just get that to and say, is it really the pedal or is it something around the pedal that's actually causing the problem?
Yep.
Because so many times it's actually not the pedal per se, it's something it's by,
exactly.
Or something else causing the issue.
So Jay, on that one, take that pedal out all by itself. So that's not a pedal that you're running through the loop. That's just going to be guitar to the pedal to the amplifier. Take away everything else. Use 2 guitar cables and start with that and see what happens. Isolate it from there. Here's a good real world example for me that just happened recently too, and it really bummed me out because I just got the Strymon Big Sky Reverb in, and I was playing that for you guys one night on the call, showing you what it sounded like. Love the pedal to death, and that's a pedal I run through my loop. And hooking it up and running it with the power, nothing was changed on the board other than adding another pedal to it, maybe pulling one off and adding another one to it. And as soon as I turned the amp on, it made this ungodly, not a whine, but like the end of the world siren. I'm like, oh, what the heck? And it scared Junior so much that he had to plug his ears. Shut it off, and I tried doing some stuff around again. I isolated it, right? And same thing. What it turned out was I just happened to damage a pedal, like a connector cable, just enough. It was one of the homemade ones where you put the ends on yourself, right. Solderless, but it's a really good one. But I just happened to, I must have pinched it a little too much one time with the screw. And I said to the boy, I said, let's try this. Let's grab another patch cable. Problem went away immediately. So nothing wrong with the pedal, nothing wrong with the power supply. It was human error on a patch cable. So check that.
Yeah.
It's the simplest things. You as an engineer, I'm sure this applies to you in your everyday life. It's usually, I always think it's going to be the most complex solution to something that's the problem. Meanwhile, it's the easiest thing. You got no sound in your computer speakers. Do you see a green light or a blue light on your speakers? Are they turned on? Oh, you know what? I never checked that. It can be that simple. Yeah.
Oh, we had a funny thing at NAMM with someone who's playing at our booth and getting no sound, and like checking all the cabling on the pedal board, checking all the cabling, and then there was a big fat switch on his DI. He had a DI box. He's playing acoustic for the final out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big switch on there that he never pays attention to that says mute. And it was pushed. It got pushed when he set it up, right?
Yep.
You know, like these things happen. So
I know.
that's why I always like taking that extra cable, right? That's like a good thing is take that extra cable and just pop around your pedal board, plugging into different parts of the chain and isolate the chain, right?
Yes.
And then, you know, if you want to do it fast, I always do it with like a basic binary, divide in half. So, you know, divide and conquer.
Yes.
So first, guitar into amp. Is that okay?
Yep. Good.
And then I take, you know, if guitar into pedal board into amp is a problem, then I'm going to take the guitar, and I'm going to go halfway through my chain, and I'm going to plug in there.
Yep.
And it's like, is it the back half? Is it the front half? Right. And then I'm going to keep on just going, and you're going to find it fast. Just isolate.
I agree. I had a similar situation with the mute type thing on a show one night, and I was panicking. A big guest on the show, and it was like actually seconds before going live, and I'm test, and the person, you know, and just like we had some issues earlier tonight too, I was like the guest couldn't hear me. In this case, it was coming from me. They couldn't hear me, and I looked over, and it's not a big switch, and this was on my last board, but this microphone is a condenser microphone, needs phantom power. And the last time I used the board, I was using a wireless pack that didn't require phantom, so I must have just shut it off, and I forgot to re-engage phantom. Put phantom power on there, and for those people that don't know what that means, it's the mixer sends voltage to the microphone to power it, and once I engage that, back. It's the simplest little things. Always look at the simplest things, but I like the way how you say divide and conquer and start guitar to amplifier, half the chain, because there's so many combinations in between that you could just spend your entire night, instead of playing and getting paid, you're sitting there on the stage getting fired, you know, and never to return to that establishment to play again.
Right. I heard another good tip I saw. I forget who I saw this from. It was some YouTuber. And what he had was, you can see these little like battery adapters that you get. They're meant to take like an old pedal that's battery only and adapt, right? So use one of those and use it in reverse. Just put a battery on it and plug it into the pedal that seems to be having issues. And now it's on a battery, isolated from everything else, right? That's a great troubleshooting thing. It's also like your killer backup. Like, think about, I always, like I'm talking to my son, so you and I are saying we've got sons that are now playing, right?
Mm-hmm, yep.
And so I always tell them, like, what's in your gig bag and things like that. And that's a great little thing to keep in your gig bag. Because if all goes wrong, grab like your overdrive or distortion, like the one thing, rip it off your pedal board, plug into that and put the battery into it and, you know, done. If it doesn't have a battery place, right?
That's great.
But something like that, it's like you're, you know, if you really just have to go strip down because the show has to go on.
It does. Yep, you might just have to go without the pedals, go directly to the amplifier, or eliminate one half the pedals if that's the case. A front to the loop. I mean, a lot of guys will have certain pedals through the loop that are kind of crucial, delays, reverbs, things like that. Maybe they got distortion on their amp already. So if that's the case, you've got a rig you can still have a killer sound with. You might not have your phasers and your flangers and all that kind of stuff, but you've got your key elements that are still going to have your preferred tone. And learning how to troubleshoot on the fly, that's something I can't profess enough to young kids too. And I shouldn't just say young kids, like our kids, to anyone, even adults that are not the seasoned veterans yet, going out there and, you know, playing their gigs, whether it's their first gigs or maybe you happen to land a big slot with a big band. To be that guy that can be the go on the fly, Johnny on the spot, fix something. Tear your stuff down. Another thing, when you come back from a gig, spend a lot of time checking your cables, cleaning your cables. It might be late at night coming back from a big gig, but first thing in the morning with a cup of coffee, power your rig up, go through and do a line check. make sure everything is working, because that few minutes of time in the morning will save you a lot of frustration and embarrassment, and potentially ruining your exposure as well too. It works very well. It's not a glamorous job, but it certainly helps you a lot. Yeah,
there's another thing when we're talking about grounds that people run into. I see, on forums and things, and I've experienced it myself, is, you go play at a club and they've just got awful power.
Oh, yeah.
So one thing you have to know, especially if it's an older building, is you have to understand when we say ground, we literally mean ground, right? So it's a connection down into the earth. And so the problem that you can get is old wiring or poorly done wiring. And you can have it where on the same, like on a wall, let's say you got a wall on the side of the stage or the back of the stage, and you've got two different plugs. Those could actually have different paths down to that ground. And one of them is, it's not grounded well. And so now you get, you plug in like your pedal board into one plug, and you plug your amp into the other, and you get this horrendous ground loop. Well, that's because of the plugs. You think it's you and it's your rig. It's actually not you at all. That is actually the power of the facility, right? Yes. So be aware those things can happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I've noticed that too in different establishments too, especially older clubs where they're barely just, sometimes these things are just barely above code, or, they're at code and they have some friends. Yeah, that's right. And I'll use like a Furman power conditioner. I'll see my voltage. I've seen my voltage dropped as low as like about 112, and I mean, for the Eddie Van Halen fans, they're probably thinking, yeah, Variac, and
yeah.
It's not always the case. And you start to go to the microphone, and all of a sudden you're touching your guitar, and you go to put your lips on the microphone, and you see sparks flying from the mic to your mouth because there's ground problems and things like that too. So it's a crazy business out there for sure. But you really nailed it, saying, think of the earth as your ground. And clubs, every club is different. And that's why we get spoiled at some of these finer venues where everything's on its own circuit. You could have 5 guys on the stage and 5 different circuits, all 5 good circuits, but that's not always the case. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so you'll see this a lot where people on forums will say everything was fine at home, and then I went to the practice space and everything's buzzing and humming. It's like, well, let's look at the power of your practice space. Assuming that you didn't break anything in your rig. So sometimes it's not your rig at all. It's actually just the fundamental power.
I agree with that. And that's where it comes back to testing your system before you go and when you come back. If it worked fine before you left and it worked 100% when you came back, I mean, there could still be some variables in there, but the chances are there was something wrong at that establishment. And I used to always be that guy when I was doing the band, I was the guy doing sound. I'd be in the bar till 4 o'clock in the morning, wrapping every single cable the proper way, not just packing up to get the heck out of there. And the reason why, I could just get up the next gig, roll up my cable, no knots, everything worked, line checks were done. It was just because there's so much stress involved. When people go to do a show, whether you want to say there's stress or not, there is stress. You're hyped up in the zone. But then if you're that guy who's the technical guy that's got to set stuff up and blah, 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 there's just too many things that can go wrong. You need to eliminate every variable before problems. It's like taking your car in for preventative maintenance for oil checks and things like that. It saves it before you blow your engine.
Right. Yeah. So can I segue? Because Jody, he's texting me. He's trying to dial in.
We might even have him back. Let's have a look and see. Let's switch back over. But we may have to segue. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We're connecting. The wheels on the bus go round and round.
It's going. I do want to make one plug since I'm here.
Yes, of course.
So this whole thing we're talking about, wiring and going from gig to show and all that, is really the reason why there's a bottom on this pedal board, right?
Yes.
So if you guys don't know, this is the FastBack pedal board. Here's what it looks like on the front. But one of the things that we did was put this bottom on it, right? You see right here. And the whole idea is, when I was looking at pedal boards, it's driving me crazy having all the wires all sitting there floating around. And the idea of those getting bumped around and those getting, potentially pulled out or something like that happening. I just want that all closed in, so it's just, protects your wiring as you're going to your show.
I like that. What's really good about that is the fact that, not only does it protect it, different things. There could be staples on the stage, nailing stuff down. You hook a cable on there and you just have to slide your pedal board back and yank off a cable. You broke something you don't even know about yet until you go to use it, right? It may be doing sound check, and then after sound check, there's other bands that sound check after you, and then you go to use your board, something's wrong. What happened to it? Well, it worked 15 minutes ago, you've just damaged it by pulling it on something. I love that tremendously. I'm gonna switch back to the camera for a second, but yeah, let's talk a little bit while we're waiting for Jody. Let's kind of jump over to you, and I'll set this up by saying how I come involved with you was through Jody, and God bless Jody, working with him forever, and it's been the most pleasurable experience in my life. But he introduced me to you, which has worked through to Strymon as well too. But explain your background, what you do, as your day job, and kind of tell us a little bit more about IdeaBench and your other background too.
Sure. So I've been in and around the industry for over 20 years. So I started off leaving grad school and went and worked for Digitech. So that was actually, my whole grad school was all geared to work at an effects company. I would take apart effects and look inside of them and see what was in there, and take classes, like take DSP classes and computer design and VLSI, because I saw all these cool things inside of products. So anyway, I start just emailing people like crazy, saying, hey, I want to, and sending resumes out, just bugging people, say, I want to talk to you about a job. And then, so I go down and I interview at Digitech, and then they bring me back for a second interview. And I'm still in grad school, and 2 weeks later, I'm working there. So I quit grad school and went to work for my dream job, right? And so I did a bunch of guitar effects. In fact, I think you can see behind me in that rack, in that Fender amp, were like some of the two first products I worked on, and for Digitech way back when. And then went from there, ran engineering for DBX for 5 years. Then I worked in a pro group thing doing live sound system, big system toys, big stadium sound stuff. And then went off into corporate and automotive and all kinds of other crazy things. So after 20-something years at Harman, I said, you know what, it's time to get back to what I started this whole thing for.
Yeah.
Which is like, well, I want to make guitarist products. I mean, that's what I'm here for. So I don't know how I got doing these other things. I'm going back to guitarist. So that's how we started with IdeaBench.
So yourself back like as a guitar player for many years, and what was it, the thought process into pedal boards? Now there's a million pedal board companies out there, from under $50 up through whatever. What was your thought process to make pedal boards?
Well, a couple things. So I'll grab this.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, a lot of it, first of all, started on the aesthetic side.
Mm-hmm.
I was having troubles because, being the geek I am, I'm putting this thing together, and I can't get to all the pedals that I want when I go and using a pedal board. And so that's what got me going on the whole curve design. And I also didn't like the idea that if you had, part of a, you have like big rigs and small rigs and all these things. And I didn't like the idea of how, you're basically starting over, or you have completely different things. So that's how I got into the whole idea of, it's like circular like this, and you can make it modular.
Is that Jody?
Jody says his internet is down.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay. Well, text him back and say
he'll be able to reboot his router or something.
Okay, that's
so that's how, if you look at this pedal board, it's all made so that you can put a second one to the side, and it's modular, and you can keep on extending around you. In fact, we had one crazy customer that did actually 3 pedal boards. It goes around him. It's 150 degrees of awesomeness.
Wow.
And then the rest of it was, a lot of it was design where you want to come in, and it's a small company, not being able to really come in and compete with the high volume that the low cost guys can do. So that's what got me into like, well, let's make something higher end. So I look at a company like a PRS or one of these kind of companies as kind of like my watchword. Let's make something that's cool, but it's still accessible. And then the whole aesthetic, it's fastback, it's cars, it's the muscle car that I always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And designed on that, and from some of the other pictures I've sent you, it's all about that kind of car aesthetic.
I love it. And one thing, I'm just going to comment on the curvature of it, as opposed to the square pedal board, rectangular pedal board, because I've used that my whole life. And this was the first arched pedal board I've ever gone to. And I just try to describe it like this: a drummer sitting on his drum throne, he's going around like this. For the most part, your feet are planted on the floor, your body is turning. And now at our ages, our bodies don't turn as well as some of the younger guys and girls out there, but we still turn around. So it's nice. The reaching from left to right fully is very easy. Stepping up to the upper platform, which is not a super high platform. I would say it's not even as high as a second Boss type pedal. It's just a couple inches up, just enough to reach over without hitting any buttons. It's very, very nice. It's solid as all heck. It will not move. And then the fact that it opens up like your hood of your race car or a car, getting in there for power, for adjusting anything there, or for troubleshooting, it's right there. So that's one thing, a couple of things I love about the board.
Yeah. So, and on that, we did a lot of testing. I mean, you wouldn't believe how many things I mocked up on cardboard and then on fiberboard and other things, really trying to look at the angle. And for me, in every band I was in, I was playing guitar and singing. And so the whole thing of being able to just hit stuff and just, go without having to look too much. Mm-hmm. And so that was, one thing that always surprises people, like you've got the GT, the biggest one. And when people first see it, at first they think, oh, it's really big. I don't know. But I always have them just like step in front of it. And you just feel like at home. Like you step into it, you're like, oh, it's kind of around me. And you don't have to step side to side, and you can get to every single pedal on it.
That's right. And as big as it is, too, you'd be surprised how you get in that little your little circle perimeter of comfort. And I filled that pedal board up pretty quick. And the fact that it doesn't feel that big, it still feels like a small board, and it's very, very easy to access. Now, if you want a couple more pedals, if you want to be that guy, like not necessarily like the guy you're talking about a minute ago, was that 2 or 3 of them, but add on another half of one for a couple. A lot of these pedals are coming out now, like the Bosses and the Strymons, where they're basically, I don't want to say the word modeling, but like the Strymon Big Skies and the Mobius for Boss, like the DD500, things like that, where they're an engine basically. Jody's just texted me as well too, so he's no go on the internet, so we may have to go without him. I hope that's not the case, but you can comment on a lot of PedalSnake things too. I know you have some knowledge there for sure, but that's where the advantage of having the extra little board off to the side, snapping on with the adapter plate. Explain that adapter plate, how that works as well. I don't have a picture of that momentarily, but
so we've got, you can kind of see here this slot right here.
Yep.
And so what it is there's just this little adapter plate, so you can put it on left or right side, and you put it onto one board. And again, this is, I worked for several years in making tour sound products, so I get the whole on-off stage thing. And so the idea is that you just put down the one board, and the second one goes on it, and it just clips right into that. And those things are like solid. They're like right together. And the thing will not like walk around on a, some of these stages can be slippery sometimes, some wood stages. And so that it won't walk away from each other. They'll stay completely locked together. And then you've got these connections at the back here on the side, so you can just go cable to cable between them, right?
I love that.
So, yeah, in fact, just to, Jody's still trying to come back on, but let's talk about how we got going with Jody on this.
Yeah.
So the Jody contacted me because he was really interested in, looking at solutions marrying better up with a pedal board. And so one thing I really liked was, again, talking about that on and off stage thing. And Jody was really talking to me about, how fast can you get on and off stage and make this easy? And so we came up with a clamp system. So if you see, we've got these holes here, and that's when you've got this thing open, you can, zip tie or get down to your different things. Also reduces weight. So what we've got is a little clamp system, and you've done it with yours, where you take the pedal snake and it clamps down onto that, and it holds it to the pedal board here. And now you just can loop that, just put it on top, and you just walk up, grab the thing. But it's so strong there that you've done it, Jody's done it. You can lift a whole pedal board holding onto the snake, and it holds the whole pedal board like this way. It's like awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's been a really good collaboration. And then we got working on this power thing together, which, for me, it's always thinking about the different ideas. So using that Strymon power, and like he's doing, you're reducing weight on the pedal board, and you're reducing this some of the hum problems that you still can get. So, if you've got a traditional, let's call it a traditional isolated power supply. Mm-hmm. So those, even the high quality ones, it's funny, the high quality ones will do a better job in general. I mean, they're really done right for the era they were designed, but they'll generally have a big toroid in there. And a toroid is good for a lot of things, for giving you cleaner power between, cleaner isolation. But toroid works like this. So it kind of looks like this. Okay. It's circular, right? Toroid. And then what it does is it has a magnetic field, though, straight up from it. So nothing goes out to the side. So that's why it's used a lot in hi-fi, really high-end stuff, because nothing goes to the side of it, but stuff can go above. So this is why you'll see people say, I've got such and such power supply, when my wahs are over the top of it, it starts humming, because the wah's got this inductor in it where it's easy to actually induce these fields into it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, using the Strymon Ojai, I mean, it's just a really cool solution. So you're running power down there, you're keeping all your AC power off the stage, which again, another thing, back to this, we were talking just a second ago with the different places you're connecting power. Mm-hmm. So if you've got your amp at the back line somewhere, and then, front of stage, and there's some other power connection there for your pedal board, that's another place where you can get a ground loop between those, just because that, what's that connection like at the front of your stage, right? Yeah. So by doing it this way that Jody suggested, by keeping the transformer in the back line, you're less likely to run into those kind of issues of ground loops, because you're going to plug into the same outlet, right? So they'll be grounded the same.
It's perfect. One thing, a question I didn't even have on the itinerary for today, but I want to ask you, for the board that I have, the GT, what is the weight of it with no pedals on it?
Yeah, it's like, I want to say it's 13.5, but don't quote me.
Okay, no, that's good. It's under 20, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, let's. I haven't done the math on this, and the reason why I'm talking about this is Gary Hoey. I think he's reached out to you as well too. He was the one who brought this up when he was on the show, and I love Gary Hoey to death. One of Gary and I told him, I said, you gotta talk to Rick, but his concern was flight weight, because after 50 pounds, right, then you have to check it. So what would the average guy with a nice set of board like the one that I have, the GT, and a half a dozen pedals, what could his or her weight get up to, roughly?
Yeah. Oh, so the GT, just so you know, it is actually just under 15. So it's 14.8. Okay. Right. So a lot of this goes down to the flight case too. So I've been working with some different pro and flight case manufacturers where they're using composite materials. Okay. And so, my suggestion is look at the whole solution. So how do you reduce the power that's in there? So the weight of the power. So if you go to this Ojai thing, it's a lot lighter. You're going to take 2 pounds off it right there. Nice. Also, your flight case itself, if you're going to one of these composite flight cases, then you can get one of those to be a lot lower too, right? So you can get it. 50 is tough on a GT, but on the LT, which is this one I'm holding up.
Okay. Show that one more time.
Yeah. So this LT is like our most popular.
That's a good size board.
LT, yeah. Doing an LT with a flight case, with a in a composite case, you can make that work.
Okay, perfect. And if I'm not mistaken, the last time I looked at Gary Hoey's board, like his old board, he was probably, you've been talking to him, I think, so he's probably going to fit on an LT, right?
Yeah, he's going to fit on an LT, no problem.
Perfect. So there you go. So for people that want to fly and not have to spend enormous, cartage, then that's a solution for you. And for the guys they're just playing the weekend clubs, that comes with you can get a very nice gig bag from you as well too. Like you sent me one, and it's not just like a kind of a nylon gig bag. It is heavy duty. That will last you. It's easy to carry. It's padded with the PedalSnake on it. It's coiled up, throw it right on top of it. Very, very easy to transport. So there's blessings that way as well too. Yeah, and this, back to the flight case thing too. It's the other thing to think about. I know it's another extra piece of luggage, but do think also about going modular. Okay. Right, because if you split it, let's say that you want something really big. Okay. Right, really big. If you split it into 2 LTs,
you would have like so much room, right? Because that's going to be like another 50% bigger than your GT.
Okay.
Right. But you can get each one to hit the flight weight that you need. You follow me?
Yeah, I do. That's smart.
Yeah. So then that's another way just to think about how to get the thing, because that's the funny thing with airlines. They charge you max on the bag. So sometimes split into two, right?
I love it. That's very smart. I never thought of that ever. Very, very easy. Snap. You're together. You got two LTs. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump over to the chat just for a quick second, catch back up for a second. And I have to apologize to everybody. We've lost Jody, but we'll be able to kind of bounce back and forth a little bit and cover some of Jody's things as well, too. Darren Moore from Moore Rock and Roll says, hey, all, fantastic guest. Chris Kerr says, I have the older version PedalSnake, and it's awesome. He'd be referring to the old bass that I have. Quiet and easy setup. I'm thinking of the newer cable now for my second rig. And one of the questions I had for Jody, and Rick knows about this as well too, Chris, if you go to the PedalSnake website, pedalsnake.com, and all the links to everyone's sites are down below as well, including IdeaBench and Strymon. Jody has a rig questionnaire on the website, and you as any guy out there and girl, as a guitar player, and you think you know your rig, you will know your rig so much more when you contact Jody and go through this rig questionnaire. Just when you think you know it, and same with you too, Rick. When it comes to pedal boards, I know you'll give some pre-sales advice to people. Maybe you might want to try this and things like that too. You'll really get to learn your rigs as you're going through this. Lau Ketchum says, thank you for the explanation of the true bypass. I'm still learning, and that made previous conversations I've had make sense. Nice. Trip Machine says, Eric asked Jody about the issue on my wireless that was making my wireless line like a condensed mic or maybe a condenser mic, and helped me resolve the problem. Was pretty interesting case when I got my PedalSnake. Okay, so I will touch base on that one. Jack Shea Martin's jumping in saying, hey, Eric. Keen Gleason says, hey, Eric, great topic. We must debunk the myths. For sure. And that doesn't just apply to our industry. It's computers. People hate Macs because they don't know them, and I was that guy. And I'm now not the guy that's like, okay, you have to have Mac because it's the best. I got a PC right to my right. So I love them both. They have I hate Macs some days too. I love Macs a lot. But we have to stop being that guy or that girl that because we don't know enough about something to hate it. Embrace it, learn about it, hate it after the fact, but at least be open to some suggestions, right?
Yeah.
Let me see here. What did I leave off? Rob Cunningham from Didario is jumping in. Talk about Cable Guy. We know Cable's there. Nice to see you, Rob. He says, hey, guys, great conversation. Monster guitar player as well, too. Scary Guru says, what's up, Rick? Let me see here. That it says, guitars and stuff says that bass and Eric's voice makes stuff on my desk rumble. All right, we got some serious bass. I can bring some of that off for you.
Nice.
All right.
Well, that means he's got good speakers. That's good.
Right. That's good. Turn down for what? How's that song go? I can't be hip. I'm not going to try to be hip. Hot signal, lots of low end. I'm going to bring some of that back. Anyways, Mike Michaels, even try battery when isolating noise. Yes, lights can add signal noise. And here's something too. I'm going to jump in for a quick second on that. And I know I wanted to talk about this as an add-on. We started talking about LEDs, and I had that fun inspiration of one day thinking, okay, this pedal board is just badass, plain and simple. Let's give it badass 2.0. And I put the LEDs in there, and it was pretty cool. And I added way too many. I added 16 feet of LEDs inside of a 4-foot pedal board. It was kind of like turnstiles at Cedar Point, getting on one of the big rides. And but it didn't add any noise, which is good. And here again too, eventually I know Jody's working on this. I think you're working on this, trying to find a manufacturer who can get the current draw for the average LED down, so that could eventually possibly be powered by the Strymon, correct?
Yeah. Because LEDs are getting a lot more efficient, and this is all getting a lot cheaper. So it's definitely something that we looked into as an accessory product. So it's fun. They're fun to put on.
For sure. And it looks neat too. And we'll show some examples later on too of some of your customers' boards, including mine and Jake Morelli's and some other people too. And you'll see some of the LEDs. And it's really cool because you really RGB for most cases. You can change it any color you want. And with my red board, I went with a nice red, and it reminded me of a barbecue grill. It's almost like I was grilling. It's pretty cool. I like that. Let me see here. Jay's Tacos and Guitars is very cool. Thank you so much. I'll pull it and isolate it and do a little troubleshooting. Good point. Try different guitar shielding. Yeah, Mike Michaels is trying to help Jay's guitars there. And yeah, for sure, this is a very good point. Guitars Enough Stuff says TVs and monitors are notorious for noise as well. And cell phones, frequencies. Here again, the engineer and you, Rick, will be able to explain this. But I know myself, when I do the show here, I got my phone right beside me. I put it on airplane mode. It will go absolutely bizarre nuts. Like I'll get bzz through the speakers, and if a text message about to come in, it's amazing what it probably does to us as humans. We just don't know. I'm not one of those guys that puts tinfoil on my head and says, like I'm trying to, shield out the, and global warming is, done by shortwave radio and all this kind of stuff. I'm not one of those guys, but I do like to be a little cautious. Rocamp56 says, good evening, Eric, Rick, Jody, and everyone. Hope Poison Ivy is feeling better. Great show. Lots of great gear info. And something else I mentioned too, when this show is done and when the videos are able to be commented on, if you had questions for PedalSnake as well, please throw them in the description down below or below the video, and Jody will come back and I'll direct them to those as well too. Hugh Caldwell says, engrossing chat as always. Eric, I prefer engrossing chat over gross chat, so that's good. I'll take that one. Carlos Sanchez says, I'm just listening and learning tonight, and that's what I was really hoping for this one. Having two guys on the show, it was supposed to be two guys, Jody and Rick, that it's an information source for you guys, because we all have issues with cables and noise and pedals and just. And this is where I cringe when I see some of my friends, and I've been there as well too. So a lot of us are on budgets, and we want to power up something. And okay, well, I'm going to use this homemade snake. I'm going to use these cables that are pretty cheap, and I'm going to use this power supply that I got for $19 on eBay that will power 20 pedals. And I almost feel like saying to these people, here, I'll give you the $20 back. And if I wish I could afford to do that, I can't do that with everybody that's does that problem, because there's millions of people going that route. There's better solutions out there. And a good example, let's flip into something right now. Let's talk about the pedal board. Your pedal board is there's entry level pedal boards, and there's the boutique pedal boards, and everywhere in between. Yours is certainly not it's not the cheapest pedal board to purchase, but tell people why an investment in the FastBack through IdeaBench is a smart decision, and most likely the last purchase you'll ever make in a pedal board, because it could last you the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, when we're doing this, a lot of this too is kind of looking at who you are as a guitarist. And, for me personally, there's an aesthetic to being on stage, and you want to look on stage, you want to have a certain vibe, and you do want it just to last forever. I mean, you need this stuff just to be industrial. And so again, from my tour background and playing myself, want something that was very tough. So this whole, I didn't really talk about this, but this whole top right here, this all the way, you see it goes around. That's one piece cast aluminum. Okay, so that thing is never gonna bend, break, have any issue. That's one whole cast aluminum piece, right? And this whole thing is just made just to last for a really long time. But also, it is what it is. It's made to be cool on stage. I mean, look at the guitars that you've got behind you. It's not about having something vanilla. You kind of want to stand out.
That's right.
That's why I love having Scary Groove on, because I'm a big George Lynch fan too.
Great.
And all the cool guitars that he's ever played. And so our customers basically who are looking at this are ones that are saying, you know what, I'm not looking for just a boring black thing. It's not just a same old square thing that anyone else can have. I'm looking for something that's distinctive and it steps out, right? And so hence all the muscle car look and the whole feel of it, right?
I agree. And a perfect example, actually, you answered a good question too, because Mike Michaels asked what is a pedal board made of, and even though you do offer multiple colors, black is one color. When you presented the one to me, I was like, what do I want? And just like when I got the 5150 back there, I got it in an ivory, because at that time when I bought the amp, everybody in the next door neighbor had a black Tolex amplifier, a Marshall, a Mesa Boogie, a Randall, whatever. I wanted white. I didn't want what everybody else had. And I got red, and even though you don't get to see my pedal board on the talk show a lot, there's a lot of times where I put it up where you can see it. It stands out, man. I mean, it's like, okay, it's awesome. It's really wicked awesome. Rusty Cooley went with the red one as well, which stands out really, really cool. He sent me his pictures, and that's badass what he did. He had that skull that holds his guitar picks.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
So all the hip kids are using an Altoids tin for their pick thing. Rusty uses a skull. I mean, that's awesome. That's how heavy metal is that?
I love it. And you know what I thought about doing? I was gonna borrow that idea, kind of like the Altoids and the Rusty thing. So you can see this is like the Van Halen guitar picks. I thought it'd be very easy to stick a little piece of dual lock on there and snap that on there, and then I could just slide it and grab, a couple guitar picks. But I really don't need them here in the studio. They're on the desk and stuff like that. But if I was playing out, that might work as well too. But yeah, he has a skull that the head lifts off, and he's got a dozen guitar picks there. Why am I forgetting the name of the pick? The Swiss picks. The Rusty
Swiss picks.
Yeah, those are very, very cool. So very, very cool. Mike Michaels, you got your question answered on that one. Quentin James is jumping in. And Mike Michaels also says, looks like it has the muscle car latches on the board. That's exactly what it's like, right? It's exactly what it's like.
So I'm trying to look to make sure that I'm showing this.
Mm-hmm.
So what you've got is these two latches right here. So you just pull that, and you pull it on this side too. And then the whole thing just opens up like this. Right? So that's how you get to the inside of it.
Explain right there that center, actually any of the hinges, how you can actually tighten up your friction too.
Right. So this right here, all these hinge points are all, so you can adjust that. So some people like it really loose, like I like it, so I can one-hand it.
Yep.
Some people like that kind of firm, so that when it goes up and down, it kind of holds. Because this will support itself, right?
Yep.
Like this. And then you can, let this down just like that, right? So then it just folds up. You got the hood pins, and you just put the hood pin right back through again. So it's really that fast to get in. And this all goes back to what we've been talking about all night, which is troubleshooting, right? So if I've got to troubleshoot my amp or, pedal board, or the other thing for me is I like to buy old vintage pedals. So I really don't like the idea of taking my pedal board and laying it on its front with some of these vintage pedals.
Yes.
And breaking a knob or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's perfect for that. And since I've got mine, I've probably opened mine, I'm just going to guess, probably 30 times. It's probably a fair assessment because I've changed a few pedals. I'm rearranging order sometimes. If sometimes you put like a chorus after distortion, a chorus before distortion, and you got to switch things around. It's so darn easy to pop it open. Nothing has been pinched. I've never pinched my fingers. I've never pinched wires. You just have to be, think where you're running your wires. But it is a process. And one thing that I know you've professed to your customers, and I've learned from this too, is getting this board will really make you think about your pedal board, where like it's a process. You don't just rush into this thing. And even though I do all my things rushed, I go into everything rushed. When I put my pedals on the board, I really thought it out, and because it is going to be a long-term investment. That being said, Jay's Tacos and Guitars says, what are the price points on these boards? You want to start us from entry level to top of the line?
Yeah. So the GT, the top of the line is $499, and then the LT that I've been showing, that's $399. And then the color options, it's so that's in a black with the soft case. And then the color options that you're seeing, they're generally $49. And then sky's the limit if you want to go and do something custom on top of that.
Perfect. And actually, you know what? Maybe this would be a great time to jump over to that gallery. You want to show some of the pictures?
Sure.
Okay,
let's do that.
So we're going to show some of Rick's pictures here. Now, Rick won't see those, so the audience, you guys will see this here, guys and girls. And I'll just kind of narrate to him what I'm seeing so I can give him a bit of a cue. So let's go over to that right now. So I'm seeing the blue one right now with the skull and the flames. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm an Iron Maiden fan too, so there you go. I mean, I had to have something with blue and flames and a skull. We use that for a NAMM show demo.
Okay, very cool. Then and they're going to cycle through here quite a few times. So, and then you can see how you can join all the boards together in a circle. Obviously, that would be crazy, but you could join a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them for sure, to have a semicircle. We're also seeing the one, it's kind of like the Mustangs, and like the red with the white stripes. Also,
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Since I showed this to the first potential customer, everyone said, "Oh, we need racing stripes." So of course we do racing stripes.
I love that. I've had numerous people contact me and say, Eric, you should stripe yours like Van Halen, and that'd be the first thing you'd think I would do. And to me, it's just the board is so beautiful on its own. I just don't want to touch it. And plus, I've got all my pedals on it as well too. But I see some ones too that look like it's kind of. I want to look like it's been torched, like with a torch. Can you tell us about that?
Oh yeah. So we've got a Elvis Monroe band. And they've got a whole rat rod theme to all their stuff. So his guitars are all rat rod, all that. So he sent us a bunch of pictures of his custom guitars that were done. He's a Gibson endorsee.
Mm-hmm.
And then we matched up the aesthetic of that.
It's perfect. I love that. I'm seeing it right now, Elvis Monroe. So we got the Elvis in a bold font, then the Monroe in a kind of a script font. Very, very nice. I'm going to jump back over to our screen for a second.
So, on that one where that looks like that's a plate on there, that's not, it's airbrushed.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, you think that's a plate that's been bolted on there? No, it's all been airbrushed.
Wow, that's really, really good. And I know you've left that specifically open. It's about 2.5 inches, almost 3 inches high.
Oh,
and so bands can put their logos with stickers or whatever they want in there.
Yeah. I want to make a big important point there, right? So there's our logo. There's our logo. It's there, right?
I like that. Subtle.
Here's where your logo goes. This is what faces the audience. This is where your logo goes.
It's about you. It's about the band. I love that. It's not a bold in your face statement that it's all about IdeaBench. IdeaBench has to have their name somewhere, but it's about you. And that's a nice big size to put your band logo on there. Very, very cool. And be creative with that. Do whatever you want to do. I mean, it's the sky's the limit. It's whatever. Maybe your imagination is the only limit, what you've got.
Yeah. You should have those. I don't know if they'll come up, but those Christopher Shane ones will come up.
Okay, let me go back. And now, what does that one look like? So I'm going to go back to it again in a second. That way I can look for it.
The Christopher Shane are the ones where you got the 3 boards stacked up and they got names on it.
Yep. Zachary Shane, Dave Deluxe, and then Shane. Yes, I did see that one. So they're showing in random order, so they don't always show. So,
right. So that was Christopher Shane band. They're great, kind of Southern rock style band, killer voice, great musicians. And so they've got it. So their whole band up on stage, they've got their logo and then they've personalized. So Christopher's got his, and then the guitarists and the bassists have theirs too. So it's good.
I love it. Yeah, it's good. They're showing those ones a few times now. That's fantastic. Jumping back over to the chat, Chris Kerr says, simple is always safe. Bane Rocks is my little guy. He says, let's pray that Dad never goes hip-hop in his style. I know, I'm not going there. It's all good. Bobby Lopez says, hello, all Toronto in the house. Nice to have some Torontonians and some more Canadians. Quentin James says, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. Thank God you're not talking about basketball. Dope. Yeah, I don't follow basketball. I don't even know anything about it. Okay, so Chris Kerr says, where did you get the LED light strips? Those I just got from Amazon, Amazon Canada. They're only around $30. Come with a fairly low wattage power adapter. Now, I was actually running the power adapter from this Amazon light system through my PedalSnake, believe it or not, into the board as well too. But I've actually, since I've taken them out because I cheated, and what the lights you're seeing back there right now behind my amps are the one that was in my pedal board, solely because I wanted to trim down my lights. But they're cheap. Canadian, they're around $30 for like 16, 20 feet. So they're very, very inexpensive. But we are trying to find, and Jody and Rick are looking at that right now, a solution that will have lower draw. So eventually our goal is to hopefully power it by the Strymon. That's the goal. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. And also powered by the Strymon, and also not taking, you shouldn't have to give up a whole isolated output for that, right?
No.
Share it with other stuff.
That's right. I'll lose a pedal because of it. Your tone is most important. Your neatness, your tone, your signal flow is most important. Lights are just a blessing, a nice little extra add-on. I know since I've done it, I know Jake Morelli did it as well too. And you know what we'll do in a second too, because this will kill two birds with one stone. We'll show Jody's gallery that shows Jake's board and my board as well too. Continue down just for a second. So that's Chris's answer. Jay's Tacos Guitars is Bane. I can produce some fat beats for Dad to throw down on. I bet you could. There you go. He's going to make a diss track on the haters, he says. Is there a case to put in when playing out? Yes. Do you have a gig bag you can show right now? Do you have one handy? I know you
I'll grab one.
Okay, no problem. I'll continue with the chat. So there is a very nice gig bag. I'd show you mine too, but it's up on the rack above me. It's very hard to get. A very, very nice deluxe gig bag. And Jay's Taco says it'll be the most polite diss track ever. Yes, us Canadians, when we diss, we do it with a real polite thank you and goodbye kind of thing, for sure. So we're going to show you this gig bag here in a moment. If it's the same one I have, it's beautiful. There it is.
So this is for the LT again.
Okay.
Right. So you see big, huge pockets so that you can put all your stuff, because you always need a big, huge pocket.
Mm-hmm.
People always said, well, it's round. How's it going to fit in a gig bag? Well, for me, that just means another place for storage.
Yeah.
So you'll see on the sides here. Can you see that? Yeah.
Can.
You can see that's another place to put all your stuff. Right. So when this goes in, you've got lots of storage. You got storage in the bag, and storage on the outside.
Yep.
And this is very padded, like you said, and a nice padded handle.
That's great. And the pedal snake will coil up very, very nice and neat right on top of the pedals. Or if you want to throw like a little towel down, whatever, it's not going to hurt anything. But yeah, it coils up very nicely on top of it.
Yeah, so you can put it on top. You can also fit it into here if you want to take it off. But I really think clamping this down, I mean, I'll be honest, when Jody first started talking about that, I was a little bit unsure. Like, I think people want to move it and things like that. But once I saw how it worked when it's clamped on, I'm like, this is so much better, and you don't worry about it, right?
No,
you don't have to worry reconnecting it, just solid.
I agree 100% too. Like it's one of those things where it's just one less thing to worry about. Because now, I mean, I've done this before, believe it or not. In the old days of using the old PedalSnake, and this is no flaw of PedalSnake, it's a flaw of me, the end user. I would color code, I would put different color tape on my pigtails. I would use purple, white, green, blah, blah, blah. So in a poorly lit stage, I could just snap them together, because that was back in the day where you would snap your PedalSnake onto your board, right? In most cases. And you could potentially hook up one the wrong way and, either get no signal, no return, or wrong voltage, God forbid. Now everything's connected. You just run to your back line and you're done. It's one less step.
Yeah, one less step, exactly.
Yeah, I love that. One less step on a gig is a blessing like you would not believe. I'm going to jump over to Jody's gallery, and I'll tell you, Rick, what we're seeing on the screen. I just have to find that. Okay, so that's wrong. Let's turn that one off for a second. What, lost audio? Let's get rid of that. Trying to get rid of that. Okay, that's some of his kind of PowerPoint type things. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Let's go to the gallery. Got that. Okay, so we're seeing Jake Morelli, who's played with Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars. Everybody, that's his board we're seeing right now as well too. That's on the LT. We're seeing the back end of my board showing the PedalSnake going through the large rubber grommeted hole. Another shot of Jake Morelli on stage with beautiful, beautiful board. That's his before board, before the power supply and the snake, and then now he's got the PedalSnake very, very clean, and he's made very good use of all spots. A very beautiful spot on a hardwood floor showing Jake's board there as well too. There's my board as well. It's changed quite a bit since that photo, and we'll probably see some more here as well. There's another shot of my board with the old look of the studio, which has changed considerably too. And some of these are repeating twice. There shouldn't be duplicates here, but that's my own fault. An overhead shot of Jake's board. Used every nook and cranny of that board to the full potential. There's a very nice clean overhead shot of mine. PedalSnake running off to the left. There it is with the LED lights lighting up all nice and red like a barbecue grill. I love that. And there might be that. Yeah, there might be one more shot that hasn't been duplicated here. Another nice clean overhead shot of Jake's board. So I'm going to come back to our screen together here. So you get the point of it. Another thing we didn't really talk about, another thing you can see in that one angle is kind of the triangular recessed holes in the side, which become handles.
Right.
Yeah. Show that again. That's very easy to pick up and grab.
Yeah, because, I mean, again, thinking about this whole thing, trying to grab it. So this is a handle right here on the side. And then the other handle point too is this right here. So you can hold it like by this. Yep. So, and that's one of those things where we built prototypes and just tried things out. And my original thought was that you would hold it one-handed like this, which works with an LT, but with the GT, it's so long.
Oh yeah, it's
right?
heavy.
So I kept on grabbing it by this, right, like this.
Yeah.
And so I just put a little, ran a bead on here because this is cast. So I cast into it the handle on the side too, so it's comfortable to hold. Yeah.
Because of mine being the GT, it's a large board, and the larger the board, the more pedals you put on it, it gets very heavy. So when I do move it here in the studio, I bear hug it basically from handle to handle. Very comfortable to move. Setting it down, you never pinch your fingers because you've got the rubber feet, which are 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch high. So it saves you pinching your fingers, and it works very, very well that way. Just a thoroughly well-crafted board. And I've had many people say, they'll comment to me, they'll say, "Oh, Eric, it kind of looks like your Camaro or like your hood of your car." I'm like, is exactly right. That's why I dig this so much.
Exactly right.
And a lot of guys like yourself, look at your Jeff Becks and people like that. They're as good on guitar as they are at fixing cars and building cars. It's kind of like a guy thing, I guess, in a way, right? It's that testosterone.
Yeah, and I'll have to say, though, the first, I didn't send you a picture of this, but I wish I had.
Okay.
The first purple one that we sold, and this is this killer purple that my wife picked out. She does so much around here, and she really makes sure that we've got, like, cool colors and a lot of cool stuff. And we had barely started looking at purple, and this guy contacted me for his wife, she's just a monster player out of Denver. And yeah, it's this purple, and it matches her purple Marshalls. So, back to your whole point about something a little different on stage.
Yes. I love that. And that's one thing I got to say too. I got a nice plug for Joanna as well, to your wife. And this is also going towards Jody. When you guys and girls out there looking for products, and I mean, when it comes to a snake and power supply and pedal board, there's a very, very good chance you can find your perfect solution here with all three of these people. And this isn't a sales pitch, because I never give a sales pitch or a recommendation of something I don't wholeheartedly believe in, because it's going to come back to bite me in the butt, and I don't want that grief. I don't want that aggravation. I simply don't have time for that. So I'll only pitch things that I do believe in. But I've only been speaking with you and Joanna for a better part of, I'd say, about 8 months? Does that sound about right? Somewhere in that neighborhood. And that's all thanks to Jody. And I felt like I've been part of the family. And I know every one of your artists, I've heard from other artists as well too, that deal with you, deal with Jody, and deal with the team at Strymon. They actually feel like they're someone. They really feel special, because you give them that special one-on-one, like, Eric, I'm here for you. What's the problem? Well, like, remember the one time when I was shooting the video to put the mounts on that board, I was paranoid. Where am I going to do it? And you had a really important meeting that morning. You took a quick Skype call or a FaceTime call with me to point me in the right direction. And, you didn't have to do that. You could have been like some people and just said, you know what, I'll send you an email, just follow my email. But you took time out on a busy morning to help me do it proper.
Yeah. It's not always with the small company. Sometimes, things take a while, but yeah, we definitely try to be that, one-on-one, and let people know that we care.
I love it, and that goes a long way. And that's another one of these things too, where buy something once. And I've always been this guy that hasn't been that way. Okay, so I want to buy something at $300. I can get this over here for $90 or $100. I buy it and it breaks. I'll buy another one, and I might even buy a third version of it. If I would have bought the thing that cost $300 the first time, chances are that would have been my lasting investment. And that goes a long way, especially in the music industry as well too, from amplifiers to guitars to effects, and things like that as well too. You might not have the money today for it, but just wait. And I'm sure you're the type person as well too, that people have pre-sales questions that even if it's not I'm going to purchase tomorrow, but I'm really thinking about getting a pedal board, they reach out to you. You could probably give them some good pre-sales advice as well.
Yeah, we do a lot on the pre-sale side, mostly helping people laying out their board, thinking about cabling options. Part of the reason I'm excited working with Jody, because that simplifies my life. As soon as it gets complicated, I'm like, let's talk PedalSnake. And also thinking about the layout on your board. If I could give somebody some other advice, when people are doing their layout, I see a lot of pedal board layouts where I look at it and say, okay, how do you step on that? Because I don't get how you get to that pedal. Right. I'm not sure what you're doing there. And so really one thing to think about too is I try to keep things in signal flow order, but also it's good to take things that you're stepping on a lot and put them down front. Like when we set up my son's pedal board, for example, he's basically going in signal chain order, but we have his boost on the bottom left corner where you cannot miss it, right? Okay. So when he needs a solo boost, it's like right there. He can turn it on and off. And he's not stepping over anything else. And so, in the end, he kind of loops around and then back down again. So that pedal is front and center where he really can just get to it, right? So think about those things. So if there's a pedal that you're always on and off with, or you're using it a lot like that, put that in a place where it's just easy for you.
The way I look at it, I'm a web guy, and I look at it as when it comes to websites and newsletters and things like that, as heat maps and hotspots. Think of it that way. So for people that don't know what that is, if you want to analyze a website where the traffic is, think of the old days of newspapers. So God forbid the old days. You would not, anything that was below the fold when the newspaper is sitting there on the stands is not as important. Your headlines are up here, and everything below the fold is filler. websites and newsletters are like that too. You want to try to get all your spots, the important stuff up here and all that kind of stuff. And then you analyze that with these heat maps, and they'll say, well, if 80% of the people have been clicking here. So if it's that boost pedal that you need, or that particular Van Halen effect that you need, and you're going to be using it, 80% of the night, it's got to go in a spot where you don't have to do the hokey pokey and potentially hit 3 pedals on by accident. So very, very good call on that one. I love that.
The other one I see, I'll tell you another hint that, see, for me, I don't even blink about it, but I know people sometimes they look at it and they're at least thrown off, is I put pedals upside down a lot.
Okay.
And because the other thing too, when I lay out pedals on a pedal board, is I go, and so if I got a pedal here and this one's going to be up above it, so not where I've got the shelf, but the side wings where I'm going to fill that.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to look at the level of pedals. So I'll change orders, or I'll even take one and just flip it completely upside down so that I can get to the button easier, right? Because you'll have it where one pedal is really tall or shorter or something like that, and you just can't get to it.
That's actually a very good idea. And I mean, I don't want to knock pedal manufacturers, but even if it was just left to right board and pedals, I almost think it'd be easier having the buttons at the top.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The other one too that I do a lot is, think about like sideways. Like if you've got a wah and you're trying to fill that place behind a wah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's hard.
So I almost always just take a pedal that I don't use as much, and I put it sideways there, with the button sticking out. Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Because it's so easy just to wrap your foot around the wah and just turn it on. But if you try to put it the straight way, or if you try to put it the other way, you'll never get to it.
That's right.
So just think about, how your foot is actually going to work and the ergonomics of it.
That's right.
Right?
And also being on the spot, on the fly. And just because you might be able to do it in your bedroom or your home studio, you get out in front of people and the nerves are a little jittery. And if you can barely hit that pedal at home, chances are you're probably going to miss it. And it might just be that killer little spot, a little Tom Morello effect that you need to really stand out, and you've missed it. You got that little window of opportunity, so really think it out. And I do think that will help you by planning it out thoroughly. Let's talk a little bit about your couple options that you offer for people when they buy the boards for mounting the pedals. I'm the old Velcro guy for many years, but you turned me on to a new product. Maybe you can tell us about both of those.
Yeah, so there's, Velcro is obviously the most straightforward thing. And we, one thing that we do is we make sure that the stuff that we're buying real 3M Velcro, not some kind of knockoff.
Yep.
And we also buy high temperature. So the stuff that we've got is, I've been through this from the pro side where, you've got people playing on a stage in Arizona in the middle of the summer, and you need that thing to actually last. What I prefer personally is dual lock. And again, that's a really cool 3M product. And we've got some, really the right stuff, because it's not what you would find at the hardware store. It's not what you find at Home Depot.
Yeah.
This is because you saw it when you got it, right? It's got a special adhesive that's made for going onto powder coat. That's it.
I've got some.
And it's also got it's a high temp adhesive.
Mm-hmm.
So this is high temp and made specifically for going onto powder coat. So this is going to stick a lot better. So you can grab the stuff from Home Depot, and I won't say it won't work. It will, but the likelihood of this pulling off is so much less.
What I like about this, I described it like you presented the option to me. You said, "How do you want your board? Do you want it with Velcro or dual lock?" And I said Velcro at first, and I said, "No, tell me about this dual lock." And the way I can describe it to people, I'll try to show it a little closer to the camera. And I've showed this a few times on the show, so I'll get it close to the camera. It's almost a plastic synthetic material as opposed to like the fuzz. And what I like about it is when you snap the pedals on, it's almost like Lego. It's almost a click, click. And some people will complain because it's too strong and they want to get the pedals off. I find just a slight rock, and it'll snap off no problem. But you gave me a very, very good idea on how to mount them. I'll give you an example. So let's say I only need that much material, and that's going to be for a typical pedal. Probably going to go across the width of the pedal. So I'm going to cut 2 of those, and I'm going to stick it right onto the pedal. And then I'm going to cut 2 more matching ones, and I'll snap it onto the matching dual lock. Then I'll take the pedal and push it right to the pedal board, almost plan where I want to put it, and then I stick it there. And you better be pretty sure when you get it there, because you get a couple chances to do it. And where I've noticed This is the only bad thing about this, which makes it also a good thing. Is the bad thing is if you decide to change a pedal later on and you're trying to peel off the dual lock on the metal side, it will take you a while. It's gonna be some pulling and some tugging, but that's also the blessing of it because it's that good. It's not gonna gum up and make a mess. It will come off. You're just gonna spend a little bit of time pulling it. But I swear by this stuff, and I would never use anything else other than the dual lock. It's that strong.
Yeah, I like it a lot because you use a lot less, and it is stronger. And even when you are moving pedals around, in the end, it's actually easier to move it around with those because you can pull off that strip a lot easier. So
I agree.
But you do have to kind of plan.
Yep.
The other one. Let me think if I've got one. We're talking about tips and tricks. The other funny one is wah pedals.
Okay.
Let me hold on. I'm gonna go look on the shelf and see if I've got the right wah pedal.
Perfect. I'll continue the chat for a second too. Chris says, thanks guys, great show tonight once again. Rocamp says, thanks guys for the case. Jay's Taco says, wait, so the PedalSnake runs your in and out power. Forgive me, this is new to me. I will address that in just a sec, Jay, for sure, in case Rick comes back here. Yeah, that's a very good question from Jay. So you got a wah pedal there, yeah?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? So the wah pedal, you got this, you got these guys right here,
yep.
Right? And the main problem is when you take these off, the screws don't go flat.
That's right.
And so it's always a pain in the butt. Well, if you go to Home Depot, there's like these screws right here that are just shorter, and they'll just, if you can see those, you can just get right flat to it. And then when you put your thing on there, it'll be fine, right?
That's perfect.
So just some things like that, right? Like those are the things that I always think about when I'm doing it, because when you first go to put the pedal board together, and then everything's going fine when you're putting your regular pedals, and you put the wah, and you're like, wait a second, these stupid feet.
You know what I did? That's a great idea, and I have the EVH wah, which is like a typical crybaby style. It is a crybaby. I took because if you just put the screws all the way in too, they're not long enough anymore because of the feet. So I got washers. I put them on the back side of the plate, and even just with a small washer. Yeah, that worked. And the dual lock stuff, as you can see from this, I'll try to show it one more time. I don't have a micrometer or any kind of thing to measure that, but that's taller than the average screw head. So by putting that on the pedal with one washer on each side of those things, it was enabled for my wah pedal, which is a heavy pedal, to set flush and seat very, very tight on the board. So that can work as well too. But yeah, you have to get rid of those feet. And I kind of like it anyways. It's one with the pedal board at that point. Jay's Tacos and Guitar has a very good question regarding the PedalSnake. He says, wait, so the PedalSnake runs your in and out and power. Forgive me, this is new to me, which is very, very cool about this. And this is how the IdeaBench FastBack board will grow with you for the rest of your life. So will the PedalSnake. And that's why talking to Jody up front with the rig questionnaire is a blessing, because he'll ask you, okay, what are you running? What are you planning on running? Are you at the point where you're done with your pedals? Are you buying more? What kind of rig do you run? So yes, as for the average person, and I'm just going to say mine, for example, I'm running an in and out. So let's start with this way. I'm running a send and receive to my board. I actually have two potential power lines, but I'm only using one, which is now powered at the back line by the Strymon power supply. But even if you're not using Strymon, we do recommend that. But if you're not using the Strymon power supply, any power supply at the back line will run power through your snake, then distributed at the board. I have, in my case, a 7-pin DIN, which powers the 5153 foot switch. So that's a pretty advanced system. I have a line going to my amp input. And I also have... I think I have on that one the availability for my wireless as well too, which I don't use now at this point. So Jay, yeah, it's everything you need. It's one cable to your amp, send and return, and it's a godsend. I've said to Jody, and this is no lie, I've said it since 2005, and I still say it to this day, that the PedalSnake is as important to me as my guitar. And now that the PedalSnake is attached to the board, to the FastBack, that's the unit. It's all now one. So it is that much of an importance. So I hope that answers your question. And head up pedalsnake.com and talk to Jody personally, as a few other people in the chat have said earlier tonight. It's been a big help to them as well too.
So just if I can pitch again on that for the modularity and long term.
Yes.
So when you have a bass snake, it has several channels that go through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Eric gave you a bunch of examples of what he's doing with it. So you can do, each channel can run audio, it can run power, you can run MIDI on it, you can run the control stuff like you're talking about, you can run a foot switch. And the thing that's nice is you don't have to be set into that. So there are companies that make very nice custom snakes where you have to decide all this and you're done. With Jody's system, you've got these little adapters that go off the end, so you can change it. So you have one of these channels, and for this, for this year, you're on your rig, maybe that's running audio to an amp, but maybe in the next one, you decide to get wireless and put in your backline, so you run audio the other way through it. Or you decide to get a foot switch and add that on, or you add MIDI and you add that on. So, oh yeah, there you got one to show.
I got a bunch, yeah.
So you can change the thing as it goes, but your bass never changes. Only these little ends change.
That's right.
Right. So this is what's really good about it, is that you buy this once and it evolves with you.
That's right. Here's a perfect. I'm just going to show you a couple of them. So here's one here with a pigtail. And these are ones I've had since 2005, and they work to this day. Now, I'm not using them now because I'm using I'm using the new custom snake, but I could still use these. So this would be like a 9-volt or a voltage female adapter. I'll try to show just a couple different examples. Here's one that will run to 2 voltages. Okay, so this will split to 2 different power sources. All right, so 2 male power sources. Let's see what else I've got here that I can just show. Okay, here's a tip ring sleeve, it looks like, or a stereo return. All right, so that could be used in some cases for maybe like a Marshall type foot switch, possibly, I'm thinking. Let me see what else I got just for another example, just to try and break it up a little bit. Okay, well, here's right angled. These would probably be, yep, here's this is what most people would use for a send and return at the back line. Or no, sorry, probably at the pedal board, because you want to be right angle at your pedal board. So that gives you an idea. I've got a whole bunch of them. Anything you can think of is pretty much available, and if it's not available from Jody, he could probably make you what you need. There's always kind of the irregularity outside of the box things, so phenomenal on that. It's a godsend. It truly is. So Jay says thank you very much. He's very interested. Dan Wilhite says I'm late but made it. I'll watch the rerun in a few, no problem. And I have to apologize to you too, Dan, and others too. We really missed Jody tonight. It was going to be a good one with him as well too. He had some great stuff. So I'm going to have Jody back on another night as well too, and we'll just recap everything that he has. And Jay's Taco says you need to make a pedal board that looks like a taco. He's a taco guy, so there you go. It kind of looks like a taco when it's open, just no lettuce and tomato. Very, very cool. So has it been a great experience with you working with Jody? I think the two of you guys, and obviously working with Strymon as well too, has been. You guys have kind of coined the term. I'm not sure who did, but the trifecta of ultimate pedal management. I like that term.
Okay. Yeah, that was Jody coined that. Yeah, it's been great, and what I like again is more the helping people. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, back to not just us, but as you're doing gear, get to know the manufacturers. That there's a lot of great small manufacturers in this business. Part of the reason why I love being in it, and they're there to help you, and so they can help point you to different things. And so that's what's been fun with doing this. So I'll have someone like Rusty that came. He's working with me because he liked the pedal board, and then I'm like, okay, you are like epitome of a pedal snake. We got to get you on there. And then Jody's been the same way, where he's had people talk. He's like, hey, maybe you should look at this. And so it's been nice doing that, just collaboration back and forth. And when we're doing things, it's been nice because, we can put our heads together when someone's having an issue.
I love that. And here's something too. I almost forgot this, and I think this is probably the way to end the show tonight. I think a lot of us kind of stereotype your company and PedalSnake and Strymon in this case for the power supplies as the guitar player people. There's more than guitar players, and I was talking to Derek Sherinian. He's the ex-keyboard player from Dream Theater. He's Sons of Apollo now, and things like that. And he's a guitar player on keyboards. He's absolutely phenomenal. And I said, Derek, you use a lot of pedals. You got the cool look. You need this board. You need the FastBack board, and he's going to need the GT. And you're going to need a PedalSnake, and you're going to need to power that properly because he's got all kinds of crazy stuff. And bass players and other things like that. Explain why it's not just a guitar player's board.
Yeah, well, that's definitely true. You see that a lot where you're getting, obviously bass players are doing quite a lot of things with pedals too, obviously, but you are seeing now more and more keyboard players who are doing it. And so, there's no reason why it has to be just for guitar players. This is really about if you've got a lot of pedals and for us on the FastBack side, if the ergonomics fit for how you're you're playing, then this is where it's going to work for you.
I agree totally. And the fact that keyboard players and keyboard, I'm going to use keyboard players for example now. They're trying to, some of these guys and girls out there are solo artists on their own, and it's all about that look, right? So I know you're not going to see the keyboard pedal board as much on a stage, but the fact that the person knows that it's there and it's going to work for them and everything's powered, safe, and snug, it's also a very comforting feeling. And that, I'm not just saying the board either too. I'm talking about the PedalSnake. The PedalSnake itself will work with those rigs for keyboard players, for bass players, and the power supply. Nothing's changing, just your brand of pedal that you happen to choose, if it's a keyboard pedal or guitar pedal or whatever the case may be. A lot of times they're using the same as the guitar players, using delays, the old Boss DD2s and things like that. It's kind of a staple. He was showing me some of his rig. It's pretty awesome. So bottom line is, guys and girls, go to the links down in the description down below, pedalsnake.com, ideabench.com, and strymon.net, I believe, if I got that right. And
that's right.
Reach out to all these guys with any pre-sales questions. And trust me, I'm not lying. They're going to make you feel like your family very, very quickly. And you tend to will not migrate from that family. You'll be there for a long time. Many people here have already said that they've had great service. A lot of them have been referring to PedalSnake, but they're going to find the same thing when they reach out to you as well too, to Rick and Joanna. A quick question here at the very end. Dan Wilhite says, Eric, don't give the bass players any ideas. Sometimes that might be a bad thing. Yeah, when your bass player shows up and he dwarfs your guitar rig, for sure. And Jay's Taco says, that's genius. Thank you for showing those. And just familiarize yourself with all the products. And Sinner, he plays guitar and bass, and he says he needs a board for my bass rig. I have a wah and a volume pedal, also 3 other smaller pedals. What model would you suggest? The LT, right?
Yeah.
LT would be great for you.
LT.
Yep, and you get a real nice gig bag with it, Sinner. You could carry your guitar in one hand, or your bass in this case, and you could carry the LT and the other hand. And I do recommend. I'm not. People honestly, they might think I'm just getting a sales pitch to say this. Jody has sent me a couple snakes over the years, and that's all I've got. Jody does not pay me to say this. You don't pay me to say this. I believe in this stuff 100%, and it makes your life absolutely so much pain-free. You run a snake out, you undo the zipper on the gig bag, you put out your board, you roll your snake out, you're done. And a lot of bands these days are opening up for these big bands. And that's set up and tear down. If you're not set up and whatever ready to go, they'll still pull you, and you're done. You lost your slot. So get off the stage and do a good show. These products will help you do that. And if you're a professional touring musician, all the better. You got time to relax, but at least you know your rig is going to be 100% foolproof.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that whole get on, get off, being professional, that's a big thing. You're trying to get asked back for the next gig and the next show, and being really considerate of the other band and their time and all that kind of stuff. This all comes part of it, right?
That's right. You frustrate a tour manager that's the big band ahead of you, or you really impress a tour manager. Either way, that tour manager is going to remember you. It may go well in your favor, and it may not. So anything you can do to address that and make that process smooth is worth the investment. And Chase Armory says, I heard your comment to HP. I'm not sure what that is. Let me see here. I don't know what that is. But anyways, I think this was a great show. We had a small little disaster losing Jody there. But you know what? I know he's still watching. I know he's watching right now. And hopefully, Jody, we still served you a little bit of some justice to you, and we'll get you back on here real soon. What I'm going to do, I'm going to reach out to Jody and have him back on. All the Fridays are booked up now, except for I think I might have one in October that's free, but maybe we'll do an odd night, like a Wednesday or something, just so we can get him on here as well too, while this is all fresh in all of our minds. And it'll be good for people that haven't caught the show tonight to watch this one, and then they can catch Jody right after, a couple days after, and recap as well. But if you have any questions, reach out to Rick, reach out to Jody, reach out to Strymon. Everything is down below. And Jay's Tacos and Guitars says, awesome show. Wonderful as always. Have a great weekend. And Rick, anything else you want to address before we jump off?
No. Other than running with the devil is something that everyone needs to learn as a first guitarist, right?
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Fantastic. And what a way to end a Van Halen show with a Van Halen reference. That's perfect. I should say a Van Halen theme show. It's not a Van Halen show, but it's a Van Halen theme show. So thank you so much, Rick, for your time tonight. I'm going to turn it over to the little man here in a second. He's going to say what his name is, what he's playing, and he'll take us away with a nice little Van Halen guitar. And I'll say goodbye to you off the air. So everyone have a fantastic weekend. Hugh Caldwell, cheers, Eric. And you guys were great tonight. Thank you for joining. And I hope you learned a little bit of something tonight. I know I did. And that's what it's all about, is sharing a little bit of information. We'll talk to you all very, very soon. Cheers.
My name is Eric and I'm playing the Frankenstrat guitar.
Video production services provided by Design39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website photography and video production needs.